Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत वेदांत शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को मीना श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गौरमयी की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। प्रभु बेटा भक्तवृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंद हरे हरि All glories to the Son of Devotee. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Son of Devotee. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Son of Devotee. Hare Krishna. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. I only wish to have my consciousness purified.
He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. His nine words I'm ecstatic for emanence. Merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your wings. And thanks for all of the worlds. Take shelter. His divine grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna devotees. Morning. Thank you again for joining us for our morning program. We'd like to invite the online group now that is joining for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Welcome. We're now going to have Srimad Bhagavatam class by Mother Arcana Bhakti. So just as a reminder, we have a little bit of a different format on Saturdays because we have an in-person class. So the verse will be chanted responsively. So line by line, you can chant along at home on Zoom, but just keep yourself muted because you'll be able to hear the echo in the temple. And we're just going to keep it to the people chanting here in the temple just for time's sake. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Divine Grace, Abhay Chandananda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Arcana Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samamita Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Thank God,
Hari
all glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namah Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishna Murtile, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravanti Pracharya, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascharya Vishvara. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtrayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishti. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 12. Please repeat. Yattejasat Bhagavan Yudhishulapanir.
Yatejasa Bhagavan Yudhisulapanir.
Yattejasat Bhagavan Yudhishulapanir.
Yatejasa Bhagavan Yudhisulapanir.
Vismapitah Sagirijostramadan nijam me.
Vishamita Sarjitos Smadam Nijame.
Vismapitah Sagirijostramadan nijam me.
Vishamita Sarjitos Smadam Nijame.
Anye pichaham amunaiva kalevarena.
Anye Vicham Amaleva Kaleva Naina.
Anye pichaham amunaiva kalevarena.
Anye Vicham Amaleva Kaleva Naina.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanartham.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahanas.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanartham.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahanas.
Yattejasatha Bhagavan Yudhishulapanir.
Yatejasa Bhagavan Yudhisulapanir.
Vismapitah Sagirijostramadan nijam me.
Vishamita Sarjitos Samadan Nijam me.
Anye pichaham amunaiva kalevarena.
Anye Vicham Amaleva Kaleva Naina.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanartham.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahanas.
Yantejasat Bhagavan Yudhishulapanir.
Yatejasa Bhagavan Yudhisulapanir.
Vismapitah Sagirijostramadan nijam me.
Vishamita Sarjitos Samadan Nijam me.
Anye Vichaham Amunaiva kalevarena.
Anye Vicham Amaleva Kaleva Naina.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanartham.
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanartham. Yate Jasta Bhagavavan Yudhishthira Panir
Yate Jasada Bhagavan Yudhishthira
Bhishma Pita Sarajijosh Tamadan Nijam Me
Bhishma Pitasa Dijostra Madani Jamme
Anye Pichaham Amuneva Kalevarena
Anye Pichaham Kalena
Prapto Mahendra Pavane Mahad Asaradam
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasana
Yate Jasada Bhagavan
Yate Jasada Bhagavan Yudhishthira Bhishma Pitasa Dijostra Madani Jamme Anye Pichaham Kalena Prapto Mahendra Bhavane
Mahadasaradam
Yate Jasatta Bhagavan Yudhishthira Panir
Yate Jasa Bhagavan Yudhishthira Panir
Smapita Sachirijos Ramadan Nijamme
Vishwamita Sarijos Samadani Jamme
Anye Pichaha Mamunaiva Kale Varena
Anye Pichaham Amuneva Kalevarena
Tapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanadam
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasaradam
Yate Yasta Bhagavan Yudhishthira Pani
Yate Jasada Bhagavan
Yudhishthira Panir
Vishnu Pita Sarijostram Ananda Nijamme
Vishwamita Sarijostra Madani Jamme
Ande Pichara Mamunaiva Kale Varena
Anye Pichaham Amuneva Kalevarena
Tapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasana
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasaradam
Yate Jasata Bhagavan Yudhishthira Panir
Yate Jasa Bhagavan Yudhishthira Panir
Smapita Sachirijos Ramadan Jamme
Vishwamita Sarijos Samadana Jamme
Anye Pichaham Amuneva Kalavarena
Anye Pichaham Amuneva Kalevarena
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasanam
Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasaradam
Yate Jasata Bhagavan Yudhishthira Panir
Yate Jasa Bhagavan Yudhishthira Panir
Bhishma Pitasa Dijostra Madani Jamme
Anye Pichaham Amuneva Kalevarena Prapto Mahendra Bhavane Mahadasaradam
Okay. Anyone else? Word-to-word translation. Yat
Yat
by whose?
by whose
Tejasa
Tejasa
by influence.
by influence
Ata
Ata
at one time.
at one time
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan
the personality of God, Lord Shiva.
the personality of God Lord Shiva
Yudhi
Yudhi
in the battle.
in the battle
Shulaparnihi,
Shulapanihi
one who has a trident in his hand.
one who has a trident in his hand
Bhishma Pitaha,
Vishma Pitaha
astonished.
astonished
Sagirijaha,
Sagirijaha
along with the daughter of of the Himalaya mountains.
along with the daughter of the Himalaya mountains.
Astram,
Astra,
weapon.
weapon.
Adat,
Adat,
awarded.
awarded.
Nijam,
Nijam,
of his own.
of his own.
May, unto me.
Unto me.
Anye api,
So
so also others.
also others.
Cha,
Cha,
and
and
aham, myself.
myself.
Amuna,
Amuna,
by this.
by this.
Eva,
Eva,
definitely.
definitely.
Kalevarena,
Kaleva,
by the body.
by the body.
Praptaha,
Prapta,
obtained.
obtained.
Maha Indra Bhavane,
Mahendra Bhavane,
in the house of Indradev.
in the house of Indradev.
Mahat,
Mahat,
great.
great.
Asana Ardham,
Asana Ardham,
half elevated seat.
half elevated seat.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Translation. It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me. And in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half elevated seat. Please repeat. It was by his influence only
It was by his influence only
that in a fight I was able to astonish
I was able to astonish
the personality of God,
the personality of God,
Lord Shiva,
Lord Shiva,
and his wife,
and his wife,
the daughter of Mount Himalaya.
the daughter of Mount Himalaya.
Thus he, Lord Shiva,
Lord Shiva,
became pleased with me
became pleased with me
and awarded me
and awarded me
his own weapon.
his own weapon.
Other demigods also
And the demigods also
delivered their respective weapons to me.
delivered their respective weapons to me.
And in addition,
I
I was able to reach the heavenly planets
was able to reach the heavenly planets
in this present body
in this present body
and was allowed
and was allowed
a half elevated seat.
a half elevated seat.
By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, were pleased with Arjuna. The idea is that one who is favored by Lord Shiva or any other demigod may not necessarily be favored by the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Ravana was certainly a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but he could not be saved from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramchandra. And there are many instances like that in the histories of the Puranas. But here is an instance where we can see that Lord Shiva became pleased even in the fight with Arjuna. The devotees of the Supreme Lord know how to respect the demigods. But the devotees of the demigods sometimes foolishly think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no greater than the demigods. By such a conception, one becomes an offender and ultimately meets with the same end as Ravana and others. The instances described by Arjuna during his friendly dealings with Lord Sri Krishna are instructive for all who may be convinced by the lessons that one can achieve all favors simply by pleasing the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whereas the devotees or worshippers of the demigods may achieve only partial benefits, which are also perishable, just as the demigods themselves are. Another significance of the present verse is that Arjuna, by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna, was able to reach the heavenly planet even with the self-same body and was honored by the heavenly demigod Indradev, being seated with him, half elevated. One can reach the heavenly planets by the pious acts recommended in the Shastras, in the category of fruitive activities. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9:21, when the reactions of such pious acts are spent, the enjoyer is again degraded to this earthly planet. The moon is also on the level with the heavenly planets, and only persons who have performed virtues only, performing sacrifices, giving charity, and undergoing severe austerities, can be allowed to enter into the heavenly planets after the duration of life of the body. Arjuna was allowed to enter into the heavenly planets in the self-same body simply by the grace of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to do so. The present attempts to enter into the heavenly planets by the modern scientists will certainly prove futile, because such scientists are not on the level of Arjuna. They are ordinary human beings without any assets of sacrifice, charity, or austerities. The material body is influenced by the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. The present population is more or less influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, and the symptoms of such influence are exhibited in their becoming very lusty and greedy. Such degraded fellows can hardly approach the higher planetary systems. Above the heavenly planets, there are many other planets also, which only those who are influenced by goodness can reach. In heavenly and other planets within the universe, the inhabitants are all highly intelligent, many more times than the human beings, and they are all pious in the higher and highest mode of goodness. They are all devotees of the Lord, and although their goodness is not unadulterated, still they are known as demigods, possessing the maximum amount of good qualities possible within the material world. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapadakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I offer my humble obeisances to all the devotees, especially all the senior devotees. Okay, so this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely. So the context is Arjuna is back in Hastinapur, and after in the previous chapter we saw all the questions that were asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj, why Arjuna looked so dejected. So finally Arjuna is able to compose himself, because he's going through, he's suffering, he's in great grief because of separation from the Supreme Lord. The Lord had already disappeared. So now Arjuna is remembering Krishna. He's remembering all the incidents where he was able to achieve, he was able to accomplish great, wonderful things. But all that was only because of the grace of Krishna. So in the past few verses, each verse was talking about a particular incident, how he was able to defeat all the kings at the Swayamvara of Draupadi, how they were saved from the wrath of Durvasa Muni, from being cursed at Durvasa Muni, how in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, because Draupadi was insulted, all the Kauravas, right, headed by Duryodhana and Dushasana, all their wives, their hair was loosened. So when the husband dies, then the wife becomes a widow. So, the hair is loosened. So because of this insult to Draupadi, they all had to undergo the same fate. Like this. So in today's verse, another incident is being remembered by Arjuna. Arjuna is saying that at one time, I was able to please Lord Shiva. So the situation is, when the Pandavas were exiled, they were in the forest. They were in the forest for 12 years, and 1 year they were staying incognito. So when they were in the forest, it was inevitable that after the exile, Duryodhana was not going to hand over the kingdom back to the Pandavas, although that was the condition. So Krishna came to the Pandavas. He came to visit them in the forest. And Krishna told Arjuna that he should go and perform tapasya and please Lord Indra to get the divyastras, the celestial weapons. Because in this battle, he is going to need celestial weapons. So Arjuna, first of all, he goes very high in the mountains. He goes like Gandhamadana mountain, and there he performs tapasya, and he even pleases Lord Indra. And Lord Indra suggests that he first please Lord Shiva. If he gets the weapon of Lord Shiva called Pashupata Astra, then all the other demigods will deliver their celestial weapons to Arjuna. So Arjuna is sitting there and performing tapasya. Lord Shiva is certainly pleased with Arjuna, but just to test him, Lord Shiva appears there in the form of a hunter. And a wild boar attacks Arjuna. And immediately Arjuna, because he's a Kshatriya, even though he's performing tapasya, he had his bow Gandiva with him. So immediately he takes his bow and he shoots it at this wild pig. But to his surprise, he sees that there's another arrow that is there in the, in the pig. There are two arrows. One was his and the other was this hunter's. So there is a dialogue between Arjuna and this hunter that this is Lord Shiva, this is the hunter's, how do you call it? When you hunt something?
Kill.
His prey. Yeah, his kill. So it's his. And then, anyway, because we have to discuss other points, I won't explain, we won't go into the details of this pastime. But eventually, Arjuna realizes that they actually have a fight. Both of them have a fight on this, right? Whose kill is it? Is it the hunters or Arjun's? Who shot it first? So then they have a fight, and Arjuna actually defeats Lord Shiva in the fight. And Lord Shiva becomes very pleased with Arjuna. So that is the point Srila Prabhupada is bringing out in the purport. Is there any situation where you see that you fight with someone and you become very pleased with the person that defeats you? Do we have such an experience here in this world? No, right? But when we become a devotee of Krishna, when we become a devotee of the Supreme Lord, because Krishna is the root, he is the root of the tree. So when the root is nourished, the whole tree is nourished. When Krishna is satisfied with us, if Krishna is pleased with us, then the entire creation will be pleased with us. That includes all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, and all the living entities. So that's how, even though Arjun defeated Lord Shiva in the fight, Lord Shiva was very pleased. He revealed his true identity, and he gave Arjun the weapon that he desired. And because Lord Shiva delivered his weapon, all the other demigods, headed by Indra, they all gave their celestial weapons to Arjun, and they blessed Arjun. So the point here is, if somebody is a devotee of Krishna, if somebody manages to please Krishna, then he does not have to separately worship the other demigods. They are automatically satisfied. They are ready to help the devotee. Now, in contrast, if somebody becomes a devotee, a very sincere devotee, actually we shouldn't use the word devotee for anyone except for Krishna. The word bhakti is specifically meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not for anyone else. But nevertheless, if anyone is a worshipper, a very sincere worshipper or devotee of the demigods, it's not necessary that the Supreme Lord will also be pleased with him just because he's a worshipper of the demigod. So Prabhupada is here giving the example of Ravana. Ravana was a great worshipper of Lord Shiva, but still he was killed by Lord Ramchandra. He was killed, and this is the nature of the demons. This is how you understand who is a demon and who is a divine person, right? One who is obedient to the Supreme Lord is called a Daiva. And anyone who is against that, anyone who is disobedient to the Supreme Lord is a demon. So we have examples like Jarasan. Jarasan was also a very charitable person. He would give anything, like he would perform Vedic sacrifices very nicely. But he had envy towards Lord Krishna. So what would you call him? He's counted as a demon. Banasura, he was a worshipper of Lord Shiva. He was blessed with 1,000 hands. Was it 1,000 or 10,000? I forget. He had many arms. He was so puffed up. He went and he told Lord Shiva, I don't know what to do with all these arms. I need a competent person who can fight with me. Nobody is as powerful as me. Nobody is able to fight with me like that. But when he fought with Krishna, what happened? All his arms were cut. Krishna just left his 2 arms and just cut off all the others. So if we become we put all our energy in worshipping the demigods, it doesn't mean that we are going to please the Supreme Lord. And even Prabhupada says here that such people, they will meet the same destination as Ravana. So it is an offense to consider the demigods and the Supreme Lord to be on the same level. Because I worship the demigods, therefore it's as good as worshipping the Supreme Lord. This is not correct. It's not correct. So in the Mayavad philosophy, they worship 5 forms as they worship, right? They worship Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha, Lord Surya, and Durga Devi. All 5 of them on the same level. But their idea is, I am also Brahman, they are also Brahman. My body is material, their body is material. But now there's some slight difference between the living entities and the body of Lord Vishnu. They have some explanations there. But nevertheless, once I realize that I'm Supreme, then I don't need this. Just leave everything and I'll go back, I'll become one with the Supreme. This is the same mentality as Ravana's mentality. What is the result of this type of worship or this type of meditation? Srila Prabhupada is saying they will all go to hell. Now, but if you become a devotee of the Lord, then you are blessed by the demigods. That's very interesting. Huh? So the demigods, the devotee knows how to respect the demigods. This is a very important point. Although we understand the philosophy that the demigods are not on the same level as the Supreme Lord, we don't, the second offense, to consider the names of the demigods to be on equal level with the names of Lord Vishnu. That's an offense. Anyone who commits this offense is called a Pashandi. He's considered an atheist if he's thinking like that. But at the same time, a devotee knows. So, a demigod, the devotee understands how to respect the demigods. And so we see in Brahma Samhita, how do we respect Lord Ganesha? That only Lord Ganesh is taking the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord on his head, and because of that, he's getting the power to remove all obstacles. Same, Lord Surya, right? The 5 forms that the Mayavadis worship. Lord Surya, how does a Vaishnava respect and honor Lord Surya? He is the eye of the Supreme Lord. By the order of the Supreme Lord, he is traveling around on his chariot and is giving light to everyone. Durga Devi, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shakti Rekha. She is the energy of the Supreme Lord. She is receiving the power from the Supreme Lord by which she is able to create this world or maintain and annihilate. So, a Vaishnava knows how to respect a demigod. And therefore, the Vaishnavas are also blessed by the demigods. They are very pleased. Even if the devotees have to put up a fight with the demigods, still they are pleased. And anyone who is worshipping the demigods, actually, is not very intelligent. Especially, generally we will see somebody who is a worshipper of the demigods, they, as soon as they meet the devotees, then they say, either they think they are better because they are doing more elaborate types of worship, or they think we are as good as you, many times. But what is the result of worshipping the demigods? You may achieve only partial benefits, and these benefits are perishable. After all that hard work that you do, you go to heavenly planets. That's what you get by worshipping the demigods. You go to heavenly planets. You cannot be liberated by worshipping the demigods. You go to heavenly planets, and then you have to come back again to this material world. To this earthly planet, to face birth and death again. So the demigods themselves are perishable. Their planets are perishable. Yes, Yanti Vrata, right? Yanti Deva, what is that? Yanti Deva Vrata Deva. So those who are worshipping the demigods will go to the planets of the demigods. But the planets are perishable, the demigods are perishable. So what is the benefit of worshipping the demigods? So they are not very intelligent. Next point that Srila Prabhupada is saying is that Arjuna is able to go to the heavenly planets in his self-same body. This is interesting. We cannot go, and Prabhupada is bringing out about this quite often. Srila Prabhupada points out about the moon. The moon is a heavenly planet. We cannot go to the heavenly planet in this body. We cannot go. There is a procedure to go to the heavenly planets. You have to take the Karma Kanda section, follow all the yagyas, the sacrifices, the charity, and then you accumulate enough pious credits. And then after giving up this body, then you are transferred to the heavenly planets. And then of course, after you use up all your credits, you have to come back to this world. That is the system. Not that we'll just take a machine and then we'll just force ourselves into the heavenly planet. That does not happen. But it happened in the case of Arjuna. How come? Anything is possible when somebody is graced by the Supreme Lord, right? Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate gidam yat kripatamaham vande sri gurum dinataram. A similar verse is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Panchatattva. Anyone who's blessed by the Panchatattva, even a blind man can see the stars. A lame man can cross mountains, and a mute person can sing eloquent poetry. It's possible by the mercy of Panchatattva, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the lesson that we learn from this verse is, if we somehow or other please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is not possible for us? All favors are possible, as we've been seeing in the past few verses that Arjuna is saying. Anything is possible if you simply please the Supreme Lord. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udara. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham para. Right? Whether you have material desires or you're free from material desires, or you have no desires, you simply want to please the Supreme Lord. Under all conditions, there's only one path to be taken. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham para. You have to do bhakti. If you please the Supreme Lord, what is not possible? Everything is possible. Don't take to any other path, worshipping the demigods or mechanical means. Don't even try those. It's going to be futile. It's not going to give the fruits. See, Arjuna was allowed, it's like going against nature, right? In the self-same body he went. And after going there, it's not like, somehow or other he managed to go there and he was not allowed entry. No, he was given a seat next to Indra, half-elevated seat like Lord Indra. Why? Because he was a devotee of Krishna. Yeah. So ordinary people who don't have these, and this is the last part is also very important. Srila Prabhupada is stressing the point of the mode of goodness. All bodies, all the way from top of the universe to down, and all different forms of bodies, they are all made of these modes, mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Each body is a specific combination of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. The demigods' bodies are primarily in the mode of goodness. Of course, in the material world, you don't find pure goodness. There is some mixture. Nevertheless, the proportion of goodness is much, much higher in the demigods, and what to speak of the planets beyond, right? Tapaloka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Satyaloka. There, the mode of goodness is the highest possible within this universe. So, when here on the earthly planet, we are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. And what are the effects of the mode of passion and ignorance? Lust, greed, anger. So when we are influenced by these modes, it is hard to practice Krishna consciousness, to be fixed in devotional service. That is why we must, Srila Prabhupada, at the time, in his final days, if you watch the final lesson, then you will see, Srila Prabhupada stresses this point, that we need good association. We need association of devotees. Because in that association, we can cultivate devotional service. And we need to be in the mode of goodness. We have to overcome the modes of, the effects of the modes of passion and ignorance. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says this Varnashram system is very important to cultivate the mode of goodness. And in that setup, it becomes easy to actually practice Krishna consciousness and transcend the modes of passion and ignorance. So, so the last point that Srila Prabhupada is saying is that the position of the demigods, right? They are all devotees of the Lord. Although their goodness is not completely, unadulterated, but still, compared to us, they are higher. So we must respect them, and devotees do respect them. That's the point. So I will stop there. You told me to end by 8:45 yesterday, right? Today's Saturday's class. So if there's any questions or comments, you can maybe slowly.
Indra knew that Arjuna was a devotee of Krishna.
Yes.
I mean, and Indra, even though he had his run-ins back and forth, but he got lessons that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God.
Mm-hmm.
So when Arjuna went there, even though he didn't have a spacesuit, when he went to the heavenly planet, why didn't he get a fully elevated seat? If he's the devotee of Krishna, like that.
Well, he is his son too. So just like Jagannath Mishra knows, right, that his son is exalted, but at the same time he says, I have to teach him because he's playing the role of a father. Ananda Maharaj is playing the role of a father. Or Srila Prabhupada's father also correcting him. So half elevated seat, that's what I don't know if I'm speculating, this is what I'm thinking, that he is his son, so he gets half elevated seat. Yes, Prabhuji.
It was chosen by him or was given this option?
Who chose? You mean, did Arjun choose or did Indra or half elevated seat?
I think, I don't know, you can expect that in the future, general mass of people, they should not blame Arjuna for what kind of son he is, and he's sitting equal to his father. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Indra offered it so that he be respected.
Okay, you have to set example.
Of course, Shukadeva Goswami, when he came to the Vyasdev was there.
Yeah, but that was, he was speaking so much.
So if Arjuna had spoken Srimad Bhagavatam, he would have
Yeah, why not? He went to heavenly planets. He actually went to ask for something, isn't it? Sukadeva Goswami is the one who's giving, sitting on the
My
Vyasa.
understanding is when he went to the heavenly planets, Lord Indra asked him to come because he wanted him to. There were the Nivata Kavatas.
Yeah.
There was a problem that he couldn't take care of, and only.
Oh, no, he didn't call him for that purpose. At the end, after the whole training was over, actually, Arjun was given the training, you know, the dance training, etc. there, and he was given all the celestial weapons by all the demigods. When the whole thing was completed, he was there for 5 years. After the whole thing was completed, towards the end, Lord Indra asked him for this favor, and then Arjun actually fought with the Nivata Kavachas and the Kalakari.
There was different versions of Mahabharata.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
and then when the Prabhupada said in the purport that they get the same result as Radha.
Uh-huh.
So the Radha got liberation.
The same result means you get killed by the Supreme Lord. I mean, yeah. So what was your point, Prabhuji? They get the same result.
Said the same result as Radha.
So we were talking about the Mayavadis.
Yes.
Yeah. They will get the same result as Ravana. So you're saying they'll get liberated? No, they won't get liberated. In other places, Srila Prabhupada says they're going to hell. So.
And you made a point about technically bhakti is only for Krishna.
Yes, for our Lord Vishnu.
Lord Vishnu. Of course, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yevi Anya Devata Bhakta.
Yeah, but that's not actually bhakti. That's not bhakti. Because you see, it's called Abhasa Bhakti. Abhasa means it just looks like bhakti, but it's not bhakti. Because there is some motivation behind. I want something in return. Even to the extent of expecting liberation, you cannot call it bhakti. Bhakti is only Shuddha Bhakti. Right? When our only motivation is to please the Supreme Lord, that is bhakti. The other ones may be called bhakti, but actually they are not really bhakti. They just have the appearance of bhakti. That's how the Acharya has explained.
Okay, so even though Krishna says it, there's an asterisk there.
Yeah, it's called bhakti, but it's not. There are categories of bhakti. There is Arupasiddha Bhakti, Sanyasiddha Bhakti, Sarvasiddha Bhakti, different types of bhakti. So then you say there is a category, right? What is this bhakti and what is that bhakti? There it is said, although it is called bhakti, it's not really pure bhakti. It just looks like bhakti, like that. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Acharya Prabhu. No? Okay. Yes.
It makes me think of Srila Prabhupada talks about the word bhaja or bhajate,
Mm-hmm.
and he says that this is from the sixth chapter, last verse, the Bhagavad Gita says, it cannot be, bhajate has its root in the word bhaj, which is used when there's a need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same way as bhaj.
Right.
Worship means to adore or to show respect or honor to a worthy one, but service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you.
One can avoid worshiping a respectable man or demigod and may be called discourteous, but may not avoid serving the Supreme Lord.
Thank you. So, Madhu.
Yeah, you were talking about the Mayavadi worship the 5 demigods, Surya, Rudra. And on the first place, why is this thing that God is impersonal? Why do they worship the demigods?
Yeah, so their understanding is about Lord Vishnu and about the living entity. Actually, they say that he is also Brahman, I am also Brahman. He is covered by Vidya and I am covered by Avidya. Okay, this is Mayavadi version. This is not a fact, but this is their explanation. They say Brahman that is covered by Vidya is Vishnu. And Brahman that is covered by Avidya is Jiva, us living entities. So both Vidya and Avidya are part of this material world. At the end, you have to give up both Vidya and Avidya, then you go back and merge into the Brahman. So relative to the Jiva, Lord Vishnu is superior because he is covered by Vidya. And I am covered by Avidya. So now I am going to worship Lord Vishnu to come out of this Avidya, and then I will give up everything. I will give up him also. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a ladder. You want to get on top of a wall or you want to cross, so you climb the ladder. Once you get on top, you kick the ladder. That is Mayavadi philosophy. You take help of the deity, you worship him because you want to go there. Once you go there, you don't need to kick. This is Mayavadi philosophy. Very ungrateful. That's why they're very offensive.
Hare Krishna, let me see if there's any hands up online. Anybody? No, thanks. I don't see any hands up. Oh, so Mother Vinjavali.
His class, Mataji, a lot of things I can accept. A lot of things you say, told. And I heard Vishnupada Prabhu also, a lot of things. So many things I had to learn a lot. Thank you very much for a nice class.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai. Jai.
I beg for forgiveness probably if I made any mistakes in my eventual.
Asking the questions, because you spoke well.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam.
Jai. Breakfast will be served in the old temple room.